Welcome to Career Tools. This week, effective use of instant messaging, part 2. The questions this cast answers are, is there a more effective way to use instant messaging? Why do I need to learn how to use instant messaging? And who sets the expectations around instant messaging?
We're hosting a virtual Effective Manager Conference starting on January 22nd. If you're looking for guidance on how to be a good manager, come to our 4-session online event delivered over Zoom. Again, starts on the 22nd of January. Learn about one-on-ones, feedback, coaching, and delegation from the comfort of your own office. Sign up at manager-tools.com/training.
Okay, Amanda, we started off last week talking about having written rules, and the first rule was keep messages short and to the point so that we're maximizing the effectiveness of the benefits of having instant message and what it's used for and what it's best at. And now we're going to talk about some of the other attributes of instant messenger and how best to use them.
Okay. So let's talk about using channels and direct messages. Most instant message systems have 2 distinct methods of communication. There are channels, which are the areas set aside for communication by multiple people about a specific topic, such as a single team or a single project. And then there are public channels, which are open for anyone to join, and private channels require invitations. There are also direct messages. These are the messages between individuals or multiple individuals.
So a channel is like a party where you can walk in or you can be invited to it. And when you walk into that room, you are communicating with everybody in the room. You can't stop the people in the room hearing your message. A direct message is like making a phone call where you dial the number and you know who is picking up the phone on the other end. So you're directly communicating with your colleague and you know that that colleague or multiple colleagues are hearing the message and nobody else is. So channels work for team or project-related communications, and direct messages are for specific individual queries. And if you keep to those standards, that keeps discussions organized and easy to find later.
So when you're setting the rules or trying to figure out whether to have a channel or discussion, have a dedicated channel for different projects and topics. This includes, if it works for your team, social channels like chatter or announcements or even jokes. This keeps the project and department channels focused and uncluttered. So if you want to have those more general conversations or having an area where people can go back and forth in a more social aspect, you can have a whole channel for that. So that's where your GIFs go or your emojis or your thumbs up. Which sometimes those are my favorite channels. Ours is called more of a general channel, which we know we can have back and forth conversations, a little bit more lighthearted or for more jokes. And then that keeps our other channels very much focused on the work at hand. It also means that staff can visit the non-essential channels for a break in between those focused work sessions.
So use mentions sparingly. So if you tag a person or you use the @ symbol and then write their name on the instant messenger, that usually causes a notification so that the person is notified that there is a message specifically for them, whether it's in a channel or it's a direct message to them, depending on how they have their system set up, it causes a notification in their system because it's a specific question to them, and that the system therefore, I guess, correctly assumes that they need to be alerted to that. And that's obviously helpful if you're the person asking for a response from a specific individual. But if you're the individual that gets that alert and that's happening to you a lot, you can A, be constantly distracted, B, be worn down by those messages and start to ignore them, and C, I guess, start to think that everybody's the boy who cried wolf. Like, oh, you keep pinging me, but I'm not the only person who can answer this message, so I'm just going to ignore the fact that you're pinging me. So as a team, we need to be respectful of other people's time and attention and make sure that we only use those tagging features when we actually need one person to answer the question specifically, urgently, within what we've said that instant messaging is good for, synchronously, so within a few minutes, we need that answer specifically from that person.
And then use threads for detailed discussions. So conversations can be threaded in that a single comment can also have sub-replies or conversations essentially within a conversation, but more off of like a tangent would be what a thread would be. And this isn't necessarily shown in the main channel, but only if someone clicks on that certain comment to start the thread and expand that conversation. The conversation's more organized, but if you're going to go off on a side comment or a side tangent that other folks don't need to be a part of, that thread is very helpful to keep the channel itself uncluttered.
Yeah. So
and
if there's like
those specific people.
Yeah. If there's only 2 or 3 people that are involved in the detailed conversation about whatever that first question was, then that keeps that sort of side conversation to the side and the rest of the group aren't hearing it. It's like they went over in the corner in the party and not everybody is having to listen to their detailed discussion about whatever it is they're detailing. Encourage people to leave channels. So once someone has left a project or a channel is no longer relevant to them, encourage them to leave that channel so that their instant messenger stays relevant to their current needs. I think at Manager Tools, we only have like 10 or 12 channels, but I have seen big company messenger systems that have 50 or 60 channels or more. And how you manage that many, I have no idea. But there's all sorts of things about social groups and things you might be interested in that different divisions are doing, sort of news groups and, the HR news things. And then there's all the automated things like the technical thing where the server reports whether or not it's up or whether it's got a problem. So you can have a lot of channels. So leaving channels or not having notifications on a channel or muting channels so that you can't see them is a really good thing, so that you're only paying attention to the ones that are relevant to you right now.
Yeah. And you hit on a good point. That notification setting, you can personalize your own notifications to help with that, to help quiet that noise as well. But it also reminds you which channels you really should be a part of. If you're muting it, never looking at it, you can think to yourself, can I kind of clean up those channels? And discourage back channels. Back channels where 2 or 3 people are discussing important factors behind closed doors are detrimental to projects, whether it's on Instant Message or any other platform. Having those side conversations, not including other people when they should be included, you really do want to discourage that because it's not helpful, efficient, or effective. Hashing out an issue between the people who understand it and bringing it back to the group to discuss it is useful, but back channel discussions are not helpful.
So if there's 2 or 3 people having a direct message conversation, so only those people can see it, and I'm going to use the word gossiping, but it's not always gossip, but they're discussing something about the best way to do something and disagreeing with the main group about how to do something, that's a back channel because they're having their side conversation about how to do something and it's completely different to the way the main group is thinking and they're not sharing. That should be a side conversation in the main channel. So at least everybody knows that there is another thought going on. And you can start that initial, hey, everybody's talking about solution A. Don't you think B would be a better idea? And the other person says, yes, let's suggest it. And then you go back to the main channel and say, hey, what about B? And then that conversation starts. You can have a sanity check with your colleague. But what we don't want is an entire conversation that's, a splinter group, as it were, going on. Because back channel conversations lead to misunderstandings and misinterpretations. And sometimes there's crucial information that only one group has that's isolated from the broader context. And either they don't have the information that the broader group has, and therefore their solution is wrong because they haven't taken everything into account. Or the broader group needs their solution but doesn't know that it exists because only the subgroup has it. Or it does turn into gossip and it turns into a them against us thing and the team isn't working together. So any which way, back channels is a bad thing.
Yeah. And team dynamics and trust are eroded when members feel excluded from important conversations. Collaborative success hinges on open communication and inclusivity, with each team member contributing their unique perspective. Back channels inadvertently create information silos, preventing knowledge sharing and cross-functional collaboration. Vital insights and solutions may remain locked away, limiting the team's ability to innovate and solve complex problems.
Also, with encouraging people to leave channels, there's archiving inactive channels. So this is making everybody leave a channel, as it were. If the channel itself is no longer required, to reduce the clutter and potentially reduce costs, because sometimes these messenger systems are charged by the channel, regularly archive channels which are no longer active or relevant, and it just cleans up the thing for everyone. And if you have a 3-monthly timer reminder to look at your rules, you can use the same time frame to just go down the list of channels and think, are these still relevant? Do we need to rename any of them? Are the right people in each of them? Like it would take you like 20 minutes just to do a quick cleanup.
Yeah, and that's regularly review and clean up the channels. From a personal perspective, you just want that to be kind of a part of your system. Make sure that you're using your time well. So making sure that you're in the right channels or that the channels exist for an actual purpose. And at the same time, when you're reviewing and cleaning up things, also consider your notifications, or even like when are you away and how those settings are working for you on a personal level to make sure that you're being notified when you're mentioned or in a certain group, or maybe you turn off a notification because you started to ignore it because you got too many of them, right? You need to keep that in mind. So when that notification pops up, you know to respond quickly because it's important, because it's not just white noise if you get it too often.
Welcome to the new era of your interview performance. Are you ready to ace your next job interview? With our extensive library of over 60 podcasts, 20 videos, and a wealth of written resources, you're about to embark on a journey to success. From crafting standout resumes and cover letters to mastering the art of the close, we cover every detail. Learn how to answer questions both big and small with confidence, and make a lasting impression on your potential employers. Other users have experienced the transformation, jobs landed, careers advanced, and dreams realized. Don't just prepare, dominate your next interview by starting your journey to success with us today. You can find it on manager-tools.com. Under the products menu, search for Interviewing Series to get your journey started today.
Okay, and next, I guess this follows on from notifications in some senses. Set expectations for response times. So whether they're acknowledged, whether they're written, whether people say them out loud or not, there are norms about how quickly team members are expected to respond to various types of messages. So you might as well acknowledge them and decide as a team if they're what you want them to be. There is an expectation. When you send out a message, you have an expectation about whether or not, but how long people take to reply. And at some point after that time, you think, where is that person? Why haven't they replied to me yet? Everyone in your team has an expectation. And if you've never talked about it, you don't know if those expectations are the same. And they exist, so you might as well talk about them and agree them.
Yeah. Again, get that information out there. A team that wants to respect focus time, discourage the use of pop-up notifications, and the always-on email culture also must come to terms with having instant messages that are left for several hours without being answered. Perhaps you have a standard that the @messages or the mentions are answered within 10 minutes and any other messages within 2 hours. On the other hand, messages in a certain channel must be responded within minutes, or other channels do not need to be responded to at all. At the same time, discuss when you expect notifications to be on, for which channels, and how you expect one another to respond to them. Just have those expectations out there instead of having people guess. To Wendy's point, if you're thinking, why hasn't that person responded to me? It's maybe because they don't know what the expectation is, or your expectations are different. And that causes tension and miscommunication if you need that answer right away. But if the other person doesn't know that, or there's limited expectations, that causes those miscommunications.
And if you want trust and collaboration in your team, then you have to have a discussion and define those response time expectations. You have to have a transparent communication so that the people that are sending the message and the people that are receiving the message are on the same page. Because if you don't do that, there's frustration and resentment and misunderstandings. And the whole point of having a communication system is to be able to communicate and collaborate and work together. And if the system you have is causing frustration and resentment and misunderstandings, you just defeated the object of having it. You might as well just turn it off.
Right. Yeah. And this isn't unique to just instant messaging. This has been true for every other communication medium and with every other person we have attempted to communicate with since the beginning of time. Setting any expectation is better than trying to guess what the other person is thinking. We can't read minds. And we've always tried to set these expectations with email when it first came out, responding to phone calls, right? How quickly do you get to your answering machine, right? If someone left you a message, how often are you supposed to respond? Like, do you wait till the next day? It's been around forever. And this is newer technology. It's becoming across the board that organizations have these channels and these instant messages. So utilizing them to their best benefit, it's become the norm. So now we have to set those expectations.
You will also have noticed that your IM system comes with availability indicators, showing whether colleagues are available or away or asking not to be disturbed. And you will become the most popular person on your team if you actually notice those availability indicators and respect them and only send messages if your colleague is available. And this is the IM equivalent of looking at calendars to see if somebody is free before calling them. And that's something that people rarely do, but which is incredibly appreciated. I don't know why people do it. Like, people's calendars are public. They're out there to see. And all you have to do is look at them and don't call if they're in a meeting or doing something else. And people all want focus time and deep work time, but then they don't look at someone else's calendar and just call them in the middle of their focus time, which I think is incredibly unfair. So look at the status indicators. And certainly on Slack, and I assume on every other IM system, you can delay send a message. So you can if you click the arrow next to the send, it says, what time do you want to send this message? So if the person's in focus time until 10 o'clock, you can send the message at 10:01. And so you don't even have to remember to send the message later. You can just say, send the message at 10:01. And it's the same thing. They just don't get the message until after their focus time.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of aha moments in this podcast. Like, oh, instead of saying, don't worry about reading this right now, you can just send it later.
Delay send it. Yeah. Amanda's face just went, oh.
Oh, that's an email with the arrows that Wendy needed to send me. Now I know.
Yeah.
Thanks, Wendy.
You're welcome.
All right. Let's talk about setting expectations around acknowledgements. You want to promote a culture of acknowledgement through written responses, encouraging team members to acknowledge messages, even with a simple emoji, as a way of confirming that they have read and understood the instructional or informational message requiring a response. So you want to establish clear protocols for message response to eliminate the need for redundant requests. For instance, if there is a rule that mandates a response to messages instructing computer upgrades, such as everyone upgrade to Sonoma 15.2, I think we recently had that one.
Mm-hmm.
There's no need to add a separate request for acknowledgement, like please acknowledge when done. If you set the standard, do this thing, and the standard is, or the expectation is that everyone will reply done when it's done, the sender doesn't have to send that second message. saves time. So if you set that expectation ahead of time, it can be very helpful.
Another way to do this is to use the negative confirmation method, which is you ask for a response only if somebody disagrees or if something isn't correct. So, for example, you say, please review the document attached. If everything looks correct, there's no need to respond. However, if you spot any errors or have concerns, please let me know by the deadline. And that way, if you don't hear anything by the deadline, you just go ahead and send the document or file it or whatever you're going to do with it. But if you hear something, you know there's a problem. It depends on how important it is for you to have the acknowledgement. If you need the acknowledgement, you need to tell people, I need you to tell me you've done this, or I need you to tell me this is correct. If you're 90% sure you've got it right and you just need someone to say if there's an error, then you can use that negative confirmation method.
Then you also want to set expectations around content. Avoid overuse of emojis and GIFs. While they can be great in terms of providing additional context to written communication, overuse or inappropriate use can be distracting and seem inappropriate.
And remember too, that not everyone knows the meaning of every emoji or the meaning that your group attributes to it. Too many, a peach is just a peach. Yeah. It's easy to be unwittingly offensive by using emojis to which others have assigned values that you don't know. There's a girl on TikTok who explains text messages to different generations, because if you put 3 dots, apparently that means different things to different generations. And it's very confusing to me that other people would understand the 3 dots differently, but apparently they do. And the same with emojis, that they have completely different connotations to different people. So it's very easy to offend people by using an emoji that you don't know the meaning of, or that you don't know the meaning that they ascribe to it. So if you see something that you think is offensive, assume that they don't know that that's the meaning you ascribe to it. And stick with the smiles if you don't know what all of them mean, which is
I send smiles.
My plan. Smiles and hearts. It's fine.
Thumbs up.
And there's a lot of reasons why somebody might hit the wrong emoji. They're very small, and us old people have big fingers and bad eyes. It's very easy to hit the wrong one. So don't be quick to take offense and assume what was meant in a medium that is easily misunderstood at best and cryptic at worst.
Yeah, this also reminds me, there's a meme out there. It's someone essentially gave like a death announcement, like, rest in peace, to my dear husband. It was like that, but it's the laughing, crying emojis in the background. Like that's the background of the message. So someone who knows that it's a smiling emoji is like, why are you happy that your husband has passed? But they really thought it was just crying, like tears emojis. So that miscommunication. It's a very small detail.
Americans call the upside down smile a frown. That's not what a frown is. A frown is like when you have lines across and you put your eyebrows together. An upside down smile is sulking.
Oh, I must look like I frown all the time because I'm always wrinkled.
So it means different things in different countries as well. So yeah. Just be careful with the whole emojis and GIFs thing. It's not as clear cut as some would make you think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So implement searchable naming conventions. Use clear and consistent naming for channels and files. And this simplifies the process of locating relevant conversations or documents later, and that promotes efficient collaboration.
These conventions offer a visual roadmap, allowing team members to quickly grasp the context and significance of channels or a file, including key details like project names, dates, or keywords, and the naming structure ensures that everyone can easily comprehend the content's purpose. This consistency not only aids current team members, but also facilitates the onboarding of new ones. And as a side note, if you're the more junior person helping the new hire along, help them know what maybe some of those project names are, what they actually stand for. Because within an organization, you can have, I don't want to say nicknames for projects, but a name that everybody else knows. But when you come onto the team, you're like, I have no idea what that terminology means. So help a new person out by maybe explaining the channels and That'll help them quickly know what are the projects or what are their group names and why they're named that way.
Yeah, they often have code names,
Yes.
projects, and that can be completely cryptic to someone from the outside. Equally important is establishing guidelines for document management within your IAM system. So deciding whether your IAM platform serves as the primary working system for active collaboration or merely a repository for finalized documents. These rules clarify document status and purpose, reducing confusion and safeguarding data integrity. And that kind of depends on where the IAM system is. So if it's Slack, which is outside of your project management system, then it might be just a working system for documents. Whereas if you're in your project management system and it's the chat system within that project management system, it might already be connected to the document repository. So you have to think about where it is as well as what purpose the documents have.
Yeah. And ensuring that everyone understands the purpose and status of documents prevents accidental modifications to critical files and guarantees that the most up-to-date versions are readily available.
And this guidance barely touches on what can be done or is done to maximize effectiveness using instant messaging systems in professional settings. For every team equipped with a detailed 10-page manual and explicit guidelines, there are 10 others operating solely on unwritten norms and individual assumptions. And that leads to dysfunctional, ineffective communication. And moving from 0 to 1 is the biggest leap, and that's what gives you the biggest improvement in productivity. This might not be the most comprehensive guide, but it will get you from 0 to 1 and enormously improve the effectiveness of your instant messaging. Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you, Wendy.
That's all for this week. We'll be back next week with a new topic.
Bye.